The first sign that something was wrong wasn't the moon itself. It was the silence. Calder's Reach was never loud after sunset, but it breathed. Leaves rustled, distant cars hummed along the highway, porch lights buzzed, dogs barked at nothing and everything. Tonight, however, the town held its breath as if listening for an answer it hoped would never come. Mara Ellison stood on her apartment balcony, hugging her sweater tighter as a cold wind brushed past her. The sky was a bruised purple fading into black, the stars unusually sharp. Her nerves prickled, not fear, not yet, but a strange alertness, a pressure behind her ribs, like her instincts were whispering, "Get inside." That's when she saw it. At first, the moon's edge appeared over the treetops like a normal lunar rise, but as more of it surfaced, her breath stilled. This wasn't silver or gold or even the mild copper they sometimes called a blood moon. This was deeper, thick, vivid, and violent. The moon rose swollen and red, the color of fresh wounds and burning coals. Not glowing, but bleeding light, spilling crimson across the clouds. Mara gripped the balcony railing. What on earth? The sky responded. A low hum rolled through the air, vibrating the metal under her hands. Street lights flickered in unison, buzzing angrily before steadying again. A dog howled somewhere far off, the sound abruptly cutting off as if someone had clapped a hand over its mouth. She reached for her phone. No service. Not even a flicker of signal. The battery icon blinked, jumped to 0, then returned to 60%. The screen turned black, then lit again. Okay, that's new. Across the parking lot, an old man stood on his lawn, staring upward as though hypnotized. The curtains in the apartment next to her snapped shut. A teenager recording the moon with his phone cursed loudly as the device slipped from his hand, hitting the pavement and sparking. The moon pulsed. Not visually, not a trick of the eye, but in the air itself. The pressure changed, the kind that made ears pop on airplanes. Mara covered one ear instinctively. Her breath hitched. The pulse came again, like a slow, rhythmic heartbeat echoing across miles. And reality shuddered. The building lights dimmed, shadows stretched across the parking lot, sliding with unnatural fluidity. A mailbox leaned, straightened, then leaned again like it couldn't decide what angle it preferred. Mara blinked hard. No, nope, no. Then came the scream. It erupted from the far end of her street, a high, sharp cry that sliced the air, the kind that didn't sound confused or startled, but terrified, the kind that made the hairs on her arms rise immediately. Mara sprang toward her stairs but froze halfway down. The street the scream came from, Elmbridge Lane, should have ended in a cul-de-sac, a dead end, nothing beyond it but a fence and a row of hedges. But now, under the bleeding moonlight, she saw a paved road extending far past where reality insists it should stop. A road that hadn't existed an hour ago. And something was standing at the far end of it, tall, unmoving, watching her. Mara didn't remember deciding to move. Her body simply pulled her backward, step by careful step, until the thing at the end of the impossible road was half hidden by the dark. She didn't dare blink. Every instinct in her roared the same warning: do not lose sight of it. Do not let it move unobserved. But the second she reached the threshold of her building, the streetlights flickered again, and it was gone. Not walked away, not faded, not stepped behind a tree. Gone, like a frame cut from a film reel. Her breath shook. She forced herself inside, bolted the door, and pressed her back against it. The hum in the air grew louder. Something was shifting beyond comprehension, twisting the town like clay in a giant, unseen hand. A rapid knock startled her. Hey, anyone home? A man's voice. Tense, urgent, but not panicked. I saw you on the balcony. Are you okay? Mara cracked the door and peered out. A man in his 30s stood there, shoulders dusted with leaves, hair windblown. He clutched a worn leather satchel stuffed with papers. His eyes, though, were what held her attention. Sharp, alert, watching the corners of the hallway as if expecting them to move. I'm Elias Crane, researcher, passing through town, but I think you've seen it too. Mara didn't know him, but something about the way he spoke, the steady urgency, made her step aside. What is happening out there? He entered cautiously, gaze drifting to the window. It's the harrowing moon. She blinked. That sounds made up. I wish it were, he murmured. He set his satchel on her table, hastily flipping through pages. Strange sketches filled the sheets, twisted landscapes, spiraling symbols, figures with eyes like lanterns. A chill crawled across her spine. Outside, the sky pulsed a deep, rhythmic red. I saw a road appear where there wasn't one before. Elias stopped flipping pages. Show me. They stepped onto the balcony again. The air had grown thicker, like wading through invisible water. The road beyond Elmbridge Lane still stretched into the distance, though its edges shimmered faintly, like unstable pixels. Elias exhaled sharply. This is bad. This shouldn't be possible this early in the cycle. Cycle? She asked. The harrowing moon lasts a single night, but the distortions usually start subtle. Memories shifting, objects slightly misplaced, not— He gestured at the impossible road. Architectural mutation. A gust of wind swept the street. The shadows under the trees elongated again. Wrong, too fluid, then snapped back into place. Mara's voice dropped. And the thing I saw? Elias didn't answer immediately. His eyes narrowed. Then the moon isn't just loosening the veil. It's pulling something through. Pulling what through? He swallowed once. Whatever the town buried, and whatever wants to rewrite reality in its image. Before Mara could respond, a deep groaning sound rippled through the neighborhood, as if the earth itself shifted in its sleep. Somewhere across town, an house alarm blared, then cut off mid-wail, and the moon pulsed again. The groaning didn't stop. It deepened, turning into a tremor that rattled the window panes and shivered through Mara's bones. A low, resonant vibration traveled up from the ground, the kind that made every instinct scream run. But where was safe when the town itself was changing? Elias gripped the balcony railing, knuckles whitening. The moon's accelerating the bleed-through. We're running out of time. What kind of bleed-through? A child screamed. Not the terrified, sharp cry from earlier. This one was messy, panicked, stumbling. Mara's stomach dropped. The sound came from the playground behind the apartment building. Elias swung toward the door. Come on. Mara followed, heart pounding, feet barely keeping up with his long strides as they tore down the stairs and into the night. The air felt wrong, charged, metallic. The streetlights buzzed like insects in distress. Somewhere in the distance, a siren tried to wail but kept cutting out, glitching like corrupted audio. When they reached the playground, Mara stopped dead. A little boy huddled under the slide, sobbing into his hands. His shadow stretched long across the sand, but it wasn't following the angle of the moonlight. It was reaching toward him. The shadow twitched. Elias froze, whispering, No, this is too early. The shadow split from the boy and rose like spilled ink lifting from the ground, shaping itself into something vaguely childlike but stretched too tall, limbs too long, face blank, except for two white blinking spots, like eyes forming for the first time. Mara's pulse hammered. "What is that?" Elias breathed. An externalization, his fear given form. The creature tilted its head at the boy, stiff and jerky like a puppet learning how joints worked. Then it took a step toward him, footless, gliding on liquid darkness. Mara darted forward before she could fully think. "Hey!" she shouted, voice cracking the air. The creature snapped toward her, its blank face tightening, its eyes, or the idea of eyes, sharpened. It lunged. Mara stumbled back, but Elias grabbed her arm and yanked her behind him. He raised a small object from his satchel, an old brass disc etched with spiraling runes. The creature hit an invisible barrier midair, splashing outward in a streak of shadow before reforming, hissing in a sound too high for human ears. Elias winced, but held the disc steady. "These can hold them off." Briefly. The shadow creature writhed, pressing against the unseen wall. The brass disc flickered. Elias gritted his teeth. "Take the kid now." Mara crouched, scooping the trembling boy into her arms. "It's okay. I've got you." "Is it gone?" the boy whimpered. "Not yet," she answered truthfully. Behind her, the creature slammed against the barrier again, the disc shaking in Elias's grip. "Mara, go!" She ran, holding the boy tight just as a sharp crack rang out behind her. Elias cursed loudly. The barrier broke. She didn't look back. When they reached the far edge of the playground, Elias caught up, panting, disc scorched and useless. The creature was gone, for now, but the shadows across the street bent toward them like curious spectators. Mara set the boy down gently. "What's happening to this town?" Elias swallowed hard. The nightmares aren't just crossing over, they're learning. And once they fully take shape, he looked at the trembling moon, glowing brighter, bloodier. They won't want to go back. A distant rumble echoed overhead, slow, steady like a massive heartbeat syncing with the moon's pulse. Mara looked at Elias. He looked at Mara. "It's waking," he whispered. The heartbeat in the sky grew louder, so loud it rattled loose dirt from rooftops and sent ripples through puddles on the cracked pavement. Mara felt it vibrating through her chest, matching her pulse until she wasn't sure which rhythm belonged to her anymore. Elias steadied the little boy. "Go straight home. Stay inside. Don't look out any windows." The child nodded shakily and sprinted toward a house that flickered like a bad hologram before settling into solidity again. Mara exhaled. "This is getting worse by the minute." "It's because the source is close," Elias said, voice tight. "The entity's anchor is somewhere in the woods. Once it fully opens, the distortions become permanent." Mara scanned the dark tree line beyond the apartments. The forest looked wrong, like it had grown deeper, older, stretching far beyond its normal boundaries. The trees leaned inward unnaturally, forming shapes almost like vertebrae in a massive spine. "And you're sure this thing is what the town buried?" she asked. "Not buried," Elias met her eyes. "Chained." The wind shifted, carrying a whisper through the branches. No words, just emotion, hunger, expectation. Mara shivered. "Then let's go before it finishes clawing its way out." The path into the woods didn't look like a path anymore. It pulsed faintly red, mirroring the moonlight above. Leaves curled as they passed, reacting as though aware. Shadows melted away from their feet, pooling behind trees like they were hiding. Elias kept the useless brass disc in his hand anyway, as if it gave him courage. The rift should be somewhere near the old quarry. The ground weakened there decades ago. Mara nodded, but her attention was locked on the forest breathing around them. Every so often, something flickered at the corners of her vision.
elongated silhouettes, glitching like broken frames in reality. Some watched, some followed. Most waited. You said earlier the moon chose someone. What did you mean? Elias hesitated. These entities don't just break through. They invite themselves. They latch on to a mind that's open enough to sense them. He glanced at her. You felt it before anyone else. You saw the first distortion. You drew its attention. So I'm the bait, she said flatly. Not bait, Elias swallowed. The key. Before Mara could respond, they reached the clearing. The earth looked carved open. The center of the quarry a swirling pit of red light and black fog, twisting like a wound in the world. The heartbeat thundered from its depths. Above it, the moon glowed so fiercely it illuminated the treetops like a burning midnight sun. That's the rift, Elias whispered. Once it stabilizes, the entity will take permanent form. A flicker of movement swept across the pit. A figure unfolded from the red fog, tall, shapeless, half-born. Its presence pressed against Mara's mind, whispering fragments of her own memories back at her, rearranged and wrong. Mara, come home. Her breath hitched. It's inside my head. That's why it's chosen you. Elias reached for her hand. Let me go in your place. But the ground shifted, throwing him backward. Roots erupted and wrapped around his arms, pinning him to the earth. He struggled, shouting her name. Mara stepped toward the pit. The entity's whispers sharpened, promising relief from fear, from loss, from the weight she had carried for years. Promising a world shaped around her mind, a world without pain. But she saw the truth behind the lies, a world where nothing was real, nothing survived, nothing belonged to itself. No, she whispered, this ends with me. She stepped into the rift. Red light swallowed her. The heartbeat screamed once, long, furious, and then collapsed into silence. The moon dimmed. The forest stilled. And Mara was gone. When dawn finally broke, Elias lay on the forest floor, freed from the roots. The pit had closed, leaving only disturbed soil. The distortions had vanished. Roads were normal again. Houses no longer flickered. The air smelled like morning, not nightmares. But the world felt hollow around the edges, as if missing a crucial thread. He stood slowly. Mara, he whispered, though no one answered. Not even memory. Only the faint warmth of someone who had once existed and chosen to rewrite reality so the rest of them could keep theirs.